Hey guys, I'm Toto and I'm here with Joysticks. Today we're going to talk about 5 toxic archetypes from the Eternal format. We just finished the standard competitive season. We just had the runeterra open. So now we are going to the Eternal competitive season. So it's fair to analyze some of the most toxic Eternal archetypes in the game right now.
Yeah, because we're also going to be playing these decks very often because Eternal is always a format that comes around with the same decks. So let's head right into it and see some of the strongest decks you can play in Eternal for next season. Right, so we start with Starlit Epiphany. For those who don't know, this is a deck that involves a combo with these 3 cards. So we have Cosmic Call, Starlit Epiphany, and Sump Monument. Sump Monument is that card that prevents your Nexus from taking damage, and instead, for each damage it takes, 5 shrooms are added to your deck. We have then Cosmic Call, which discounts the mana of your Celestial cards, and Starlit Epiphany, which replaces your entire deck with Celestial cards if you have a Celestial ally in play. So what that means is you're going to be placing the Sump Monument down when you're going to take a lethal attack or lethal damage. And after your deck is filled with shrooms, you're gonna play Starlit Epiphany and replace your entire deck and basically turn back the clock in the match so you can then start playing your Celestials and finding a lethal turn, right, Total?
Yes. Also, this deck is very strong because it's a Celestial deck and has a lot of healing, a lot of burn damage because you're running Piltover's on, and has one of the 2 most strongest champions in the Eternal format, which is Zoe and Victor. We can take a quick look to this list right now. So let's see, Sump Epiphany, we have Zoe Victor right there. A lot of Celestial support cards. We have Cosmic Youngling, which also is one of the strongest cards in the game right now, and Cosmic Call.
Yeah, I want to point out that the problem is this deck, what makes this deck so strong is a Piltover's Own card. As you know, I am a Piltover's Own hater. Sump Monument is the problem, not the Celestial package, okay?
So let's go right into the 4th most toxic deck in the Eternal format.
Right, we have Rise, which is a deck that wasn't rotated out of standard, but it is a fit he was, because all of the good cards that were in his deck were rotated out, such as Homecoming and Meditation.
Those cards are very strong because you can set up very well the Rise need for burst spells, and you can control your opponent with Homecoming, which is one of the most strongest cards in the Ionia region.
So let's see a few of the other cards that Rise uses that were rotated out to Eternal. So tell me about some of them, Total.
Well, the first card we're going to talk about is Eye of the Dragon, which it is one of the most toxic cards in the game in the Eternal format. She is a very cheap unit that can also grant you a lot of mana and heal your Nexus because of the Dragonling.
Yeah. And we have also Entreat to help you draw your Rise, which is going to be your main win condition, as he brings an alternative win condition to the game when you have the 5 runes landmarks in play. And also Claws of the Dragon is a burst speed unit that drops down on board, when you play 2 spells in the turn. So it is a nice unit to support you throughout your turns until you find your runes. And also Steel Tempest, which is very strong against any mid-range deck, right?
Rise is very toxic because a lot of people don't like alternative win conditions, and also it runs Ionia in this deck. In Ionia, it's filled with a lot of deny package and some healing stuff, so people don't really like this kind of playstyle.
Yeah, so let's head right into the 3rd most toxic deck. So we have Elise Nar, which is an archetype that has been around for a long time already. It brings some of the most toxic win conditions in the game as well, and also a nerfed card.
We are talking about the Warden of the Tribes card, which was recently nerfed. But because we're talking about an Eternal format deck, all the cards are available in this deck pool. You can see that it has a lot of potential with typing cards, so we have the types in the champions also. So we have Elise in the Spider type, Nar in the Yordo type, and a lot of other cards that are typing to help your Warden of the Tribes roll its attributes.
Yeah. If you don't hit with your units and end the game with Warden of the Tribe, you also have Atrocity, which is one of the strongest finishers in the Eternal format. And because this deck is also Shadow Isles, a Shadow Isles version of the deck is a bit more control. It has a bit some other control tools like Biofist, which helps this deck be very consistent.
Let's take a quick look to this card, this deck list actually. You can see that we have a lot of units that bring types to it. You have Weapon Master in the innovative Blacksmith. We have Dog typing in the Rainfang Wolf. Glacial Saurian with the Reptile typing, which is one of the most strongest cards in the game right now, Glacial Saurian. And we have the rotated card Ancient Yeti that has the Yeti typing, and it's one of the most strongest card if playing the curve.
We also have a few tools like Wild Mysticism, which bring ramp to you, which will help you now that Warden is 9 mana. So this card is much more important now than it was before. And also, as we mentioned before, Vile Feast and Atrocity to help you bring a finisher if you don't hit with your units for some reason, maybe Rise has stunned you, and Vile Feast to bring another Spider unit and more control to your early game.
We're talking about Twisted Fate and Janna, which certainly going to be a very strong deck in the Eternal format because the champions had a lot of synergy with that.
Okay. Twisted Fate and Janna will bring some of the same cards to work together. Of course, we are pending on a balance patch next week, but if nothing else changes, we can assume the card package will remain the same as these two champions work together very well. And TF was already one of the strongest cards in the game before he was rotated and before Janna came along.
So you can see I brought a highlight to the runeterra unit, which never was a very strong unit in the game, but in this archetype it makes a lot of sense because you are playing a lot of drawing cards. So this card helps a lot you to control your opponent's board because it deals a lot of damage if you're buying a lot of cards in your turn.
Great, let's see what the list will look like. So we have a few of the units which are present in Janna decks in standard, such as Miriam, Windborn Mariner, and Exalted Clownwinder, and also George, the Wizened Helmsman. These burn spells may be changed in the balance patch, particularly Divine Whirlwind, but we expect this card package to remain as synergistic with Janna and TF as they are right now.
Okay guys, so let's go to the most toxic archetype in the Eternal format. Of course, we are talking about timelines. Concurrent timelines actually was the meta-defining card in the last Eternal format. It had to be hotfixed.
Yeah. We also are not only bringing you one version of timelines, we're actually being free, because before it was hotfixed, we had three deck lineups with concurrent timelines. So we're bringing you a few options if you don't want to play with only one version of the timelines deck.
So let's go see the first version. This version was the version that survived the hotfix in the last Eternal season. It's not that timelines dependent, but it's very strong because it has a lot of potential for burning cards. It's a lot of cheap units that you can play also. And it's one of the most strongest decks in terms of board pressure in the game. And Jax recently got buffed also, so it's also stronger than it was before.
Yeah, so this is the version if you don't want to explore this archetype, if you just want to get the strongest version and play ranked games, this is the version for you. As we all know, concurrent timelines transforms your units into a follower of the same cost, which can bring you a lot of good results. For instance, when you play a combat cook, transforming into maybe an ancient crocolith, for instance, you're gonna have a 7/7 unit buffed with an equipment and also maybe fearsome and another keywords. So this archetype works with transforming units that bring other effects that are low stats, transformed into units with better stats and still keeping their effect when you play them. Let's see the second list.
The combo with concurrent timelines with this card is that you can play Ice Pillar for free and have a 8 mana cost unit for free actually.
Yeah. Usually back then you would play the Ice Pillar into Bury the Ice and Eat That Stairs. It was a very strong combo for a more control version of this deck, and you can also keep playing that if you'd like a more control version, but this one is a bit faster. It has the whole Weapon Master package as well, so it can play a bit more aggressively and a bit faster. But it's worth to keep in mind that Buried in Ice is still a very valuable control card if you're playing inferiors, particularly against a Warden of the Tribe decks or Champion Strength decks, because you can just bury them in ice and then keep playing your transformed units and have really strong turns with a lot of tempo value.
Keep in mind that this deck it's more concurrent timelines dependent, so if you don't draw the card, you probably will have some problems in the game because your units are not suited for the format, and maybe your opponent will be stronger than you till you buy your concurrent timelines.
Great, let's see the final third version of this deck and Total's favorite, the Bandle City Championless Timelines version.
Yes, this is my favorite deck of all time. Championless Timelines, it's more timelines dependent, but it's very fun. You can have a lot of very awesome combos with Banana Blaster, Risu the Silent Storm, which can bring you 7/3 with 3 impact unit in the board. We have also Fan Club President, which also is a very strong card to play with timelines. You can transform a 5-cost unit and have a cheap spell that can alter the game state. And a lot of other Weapon Master cards also.
This also has some Works map, which means you can bring one of the transformed units and make it elusive and really catch your opponent off guard, and also the whole burn and ping package that Bandle City and PNZ offers. So guys, this was our 5 most toxic archetypes in the Eternal format. I hope you liked it. If you disagree with us, please comment down below. If you think there is another archetype that is even toxic, more toxic than these, please comment as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you all next week.